You're a bit hungry. We've done the hungry and hungry joke before. You're not going faint. Get up. Penny money, graphics, do it. So 35 BC, Julius Caesar is cracking the whip. And the Roman Empire is growing, expanding. It bursts into Hungary. Actually, it doesn't meet too much in the way of resistance, and sets up along the west bank of the Danube. Forts all the way along. This area becomes known as Pannonia because of the Pannonians, the tribe that lived here. They couldn't tell lies. Well, you've got me on that one. Was it George Washington? Something to do with that? What? Pinocchio. Now, Pinocchio was not a Pannonian, actually, strangely enough, spookily enough, no. This city that they set up here, they're called Aquincum, which is after the Celtic word for plentiful supply of water. This is a spa town. It was then. Find hot water, find Romans, a huge great settlement here with hot baths over there and this military setup over here. 10,000 military in here. And Hadrian in the 2nd century says, I'm going to make you self-governing and I'm going to give you the title of Colonia. Oof, big news about the most important title you could give to any settlement outside of Rome. Things really take off. Then there's 60,000 people in the city, really going for it, until the 4th century, when Attila the Hun batters them and sends them home. So the Huns are here, but the Romans have left their mark. They were right, you know. Healthy body, healthy mind. Look after your body, your mind looks after its... What are you on about? The state of you. You've got a body like Mel Gibson. I tell you what, if Mel Gibson finds out what you're doing to his body, you're dead. This is lovely. This is the castle district of Buda. Now, the Huns are in, but then comes the Great Migration. Everybody pouring in here. Germanic tribes, Hun tribes, Iranian tribes, Asian tribes, and of course the Magyars, who came from the east. Actually, they were sort of on raids, but when they got here, they thought, oh, quite nice, really. Danube, all that lovely land, think I'll stay for a bit. In fact, they stayed forever, because they are the Hungarians. They were fierce fighters. They could fire an arrow at you whilst, I'm just pretending, whilst riding towards you, and then turn round and fire one backwards, which is where we get the expression parting shot from the Magyars. Ooh! The local people were so impressed by their fighting prowess that they thought they must be Huns, and they called them Hunwars, from which we get Hungarians. Their first leader was King Stephen, who realized that either side of them, they had Christians, the Byzantine Empire and the Holy Roman Empire. And he thought, we're going to get battered here, so let's do something about it. Let's convert to Christianity, then they won't hit us. Lots of people said yes, but lots said no. In fact, one missionary sent here from Rome, called Gellert, was put in a barrel full of spikes and rolled down the hill that's just over there to the River Danube. I think it's fair to say that when he got to the bottom, he had a bit of a nosebleed. But he was a very holy man. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Stephen got the first Hungarian state together. He got money done, he got everything done, and he eventually got Christianity through by saying, if you don't support it, I'll take away your money and your land. Job's a good one. Clever bloke, you see, a bit like me. And I've decided it's not just my body I should look after, it's my brain as well. I should eat fish. You're shocked, aren't you? It's brain food. Talking of which, the Fisherman's Bastion. This is the Fisherman's Bastion. It's actually only just over 100 years old, and no one really knows why it's called the Fisherman's Bastion. Perhaps because there was a medieval fisherman's port here once. Perhaps because the fishermen were told to look after it. Who knows? But it stands on a spot where there has been fortifications since medieval times. You know, if King Stephen was the first founder of the Hungarian state, then King Bela IV was the second. You see, I'll explain. In 1241, the Tatars came along, the Mongols, and they obliterated the place, both Buda and Pest. Killed everyone. Depopularization. And that's a polite way of putting it, right? It just means kill anything that moves. So Bela said, we've got to do something about this. So he built a castle on this very spot, and in fact more castles further up along the same border. And it worked. Buda started to grow again. Then he invited in foreign merchants, people with special trades and abilities, and it really started to take off. There's nothing left of the old castle now, except if you go down into the caves, because with it being a spa town, there are lots of caves formed by the water, and that's where they kept storage, and they also defended themselves in there. Now, I said I wanted brain food, so what have you got for me? A half-eaten, sort of raisiny, chewy thing. Well, that's healthy, that's what I want. What have you got? Crisps. They're not healthy, are they? Even if they are cod flavour. Cod flake. Have a look round, will you? "46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Hey, I see. Fit as a fiddle. Right. Stephen and Bela IV were members of the Arpad dynasty, and that died out in 1301. So the authorities thought to themselves, what are we going to do? Who are going to get to be king? I know, we'll get a foreigner. So they got Charles Robert of Anjou, and he did all right. In fact, he was crowned in the church just up the road. His son, Louis I, gave special privileges to Buda, and it really started to grow, and he built a palace here. Now, another person to really influence Buda, you are not Van Gogh, so leave the sunflowers alone. Another person to really influence Buda was Matthias. Now, he was known as the Renaissance king, terribly artistic. He changed the palace. He did all sorts. In fact, he made Buda an art centre across Europe. He married Beatrix of Aragon, and she brought with her Italian ways, an Italian court. They introduced the first standing army in Europe. I know, all the other armies must have been lying down. It'd be dead easy to beat them, wouldn't it? Yeah, but the first one, don't know what it means, but he did. He was also famous, and still is to this day, for introducing justice and self-government. He died in 1490 and had no son and heir. From then on, the place went into decline. Now, because Matthias didn't have a son and heir, Buda went into a period of weakness, and the Turks took full advantage of it. 1526, they marched on the Hungarian army and battered it in just 2 hours. Years later, they marched on Buda itself, and they stayed here for 145 years. In fact, they made Buda their centre for controlling the whole of Hungary. Now, the Turks, because of their religion, had to bathe 5 times a day before they prayed. So they built lots of Turkish baths. And here is one of the originals. Now, some famous Hungarians for you. Tony Curtis, Michael Curtis, the director of Casablanca, yeah, Zaza Gabor, Mr. Biro, the man who invented the ballpoint pen, yeah, and Albert, who discovered vitamin C. Vitamin C, that's what I need. And I normally have my tablets, my vitamin C tablet. I've left them at... What's that? That's got vitamin C, yeah, but how do I get into it? I haven't got a knife. I need to cut it. Oh. Yeah, all right. Well, look, it's rude to watch someone eat, so have a look over there whilst I eat it, all right? That's better. It's those pips, isn't it? They really stick in your teeth. Come on, cheers. So, after being occupied by the Turks for 145 years, good news for the Hungarians. They become occupied by the Austrians. What? There's somebody sitting... Of course, it's me, you Burke. Right. The Austrians are here for about 200 years, so not surprisingly, after about 350 years of occupation, they want to do something about it. And they do it in coffee houses just like this. This is what you're doing. This is the New York coffee house, although it wasn't called that during the communist period. This was 1848. They planned a rebellion. 1849, the rebellion took place, and just under 20 years later, the Austrians say, all right, tell you what, you can run what are you doing? You can run Hungary yourselves, and we'll run Austria ourselves, but we'll have the same monarchy over both, right? There you go. They called it the Compromise. Now, why have you given me cake? Because you know I'm looking after my figure, and I don't want coffee because that's got nasty bits in it, caffeine, things like that. I just want water. What is that? Eat Middle Wallop Pies. It's a sponsorship deal. What do you get? Pies for life. Struth. After the compromise was signed, Budapest went into a golden age. It was growing at fantastic speed, in fact, faster than any other city in Europe. Boulevards, huge, great houses, fantastic. Even the Austrians had to admit that it was probably a little better than Vienna. So this national pride amongst the Hungarians led to them thinking, we'll have a celebration, a millennium, marking the point when the 7 Hungarian tribes took this region in 895. What? The millennium was in 1896. Well, I know it was. That was because the person that was planning the millennium, the architect, he died. So I know it's a bit sad. So they put it back a bit. And anyway, who's to say whether a millennium starts at the beginning of a year or the end of one? You are. All right, okay. Well, one of the major features of the Millennium celebrations was this place, a castle that isn't a castle. It just shows all the different types of Hungarian architecture. And originally, it was built amongst this beautiful park out of cardboard. The people liked it so much that they came back and built it out of stone. Now, this castle, which isn't a castle, and the park around it was all very good news for the place we're going to next. This is Gundel Restaurant, without doubt the most famous restaurant in all of Hungary. It was opened just 2 years before the Millennium celebrations, but of course benefited from those. The rich and the great from all over the world have eaten here. The Pope, the Queen, German, French leaders, Hillary Clinton, and now me. Mr. Kozma is the director, and this is Hungarian cuisine, yes?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what have we got here?
This is a variation on the goose liver theme. The goose liver and 2 pâtés, one with tortillas, so the other one flavored with garlic and onion.
So goose liver is an important feature in Hungarian food. And this is what?
Rich man's purse.
Rich man's purse, that's nice.
Savory pancake filled with boneless paprika chicken, accompanied with paprika sauce.
Paprika, I know, is very important, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and this fish?
This is the famous fogas or pike perch from Lake Balaton. Grilled with a light wine sauce, vegetable pearls, served on braised spinach.
Okay. And I know this is rabbit, but I've never seen rabbit served like this before. That's interesting.
Invention of our chef, crown of rabbit. served on lecho, the Hungarian ratatouille, and egg dumplings.
So you've got the saddle and the crown, and a bit of dessert. What's this?
Invention of our founder, Charles Gundel, the Gundel pancake, which is filled with cream of crushed walnuts or with hot chocolate sauce.
Hot chocolate on the top, right. And Gundel, he bought the restaurant in 1910,
Yes, he did.
and he actually set the style for all the Hungarian food.
Yes, he did.
Brilliant. All right, we've got some Hungarian wines. All we have to do now is get stuck in. Yes, brilliant. Except, of course, I've got to watch my figure. I've got to stay lean and keen. So you want that? That's all right. That's okay. You know, I've got to look right. I've got to stay healthy. You take that. And no, I wouldn't. And I'll have one of these carrots. During the Second World War, Budapest is blown to bits. The communists march in. They don't actually win the elections that they've rigged, not for a few years anyway. And then they're under the power of a man called Rákosi, who is a complete egomaniac. Pictures of himself everywhere. Stalin's embarrassed by it. It is not like me. Anyway, I only have little pictures of us. Stalin dies and Rákosi loses his position. In comes a man called Nagy. Now, he's a sort of liberal communist, and the people actually quite like him. 55, Rákosi says, I'm having none of this, has him thrown out again, and he takes power again. 56, the students start a march protesting. Workers join them, and they get to this radio station, where they start protesting. The communists having none of it, they put secret police on the roof, and they shoot them. Rioting in the streets, the Soviets actually retreat. And the Hungarians go, hurrah, we've won, except for on the 1st of November, the Soviets come back, round up all the people who are revolting and shoot them, including Nagy. I used to work in radio, you know. It was not when it was called wireless and you had to wear a dicky bow. I'm younger and fitter than you. I tell you what, I'll race you to Heroes Square. Come on, keep up. Come on, that'll teach you to call me old. Listen, 89. Oh, come on, get up. The bubble burst. The people were get up. The people were forcing change. They demanded that Nagy, the political leader we were just talking about, be reburied with all the ceremonial trimmings. And the authorities agreed. Thousands turned up for his funeral. And then there were mass demonstrations here in what is now called Heroes Square, but it's actually round. Anyway, at the same time, hundreds of Eastern Germans were pouring into Hungary on holiday. And the government were arranging tourist trips to the Austrian border, where they cut a bit of a hole in the barbed wire fencing, and you know, a lot of those Eastern Germans escaped into, I know, jumps back in amazement. Heroes Square, the 7 Magyar leaders who set up Hungary. Around the bottom end, this huge semicircle covered in the greatest leaders the country's known. Heroes, every one of them. I should be up there. Well, I'm a hero. I told you, people worship at the temple that is my body. And I have a duty to keep it as fine and as fearsome as theirs. Which, listen, which is why we're going to do what this country does best. Come on. Aquatherapy. That's what the brilliant at in Budapest. Hotel Gellert. Gellert, remember the bloke in the barrel with the spikes? Well, they built the hotel on some old Turkish baths, and they've got a whole selection of spas. Come on. See, this is lovely. Nice little swim and then maybe a massage. What? No, I don't want a beer.
Mick, én nem bánom.
No, seriously, this is what you should be doing. I didn't mean doing it to me.
Good.
You see, this is what you need. Nice relaxing massage. That's. What are you going to do? Play chess, are you? Right. Well, I'm going first. It's really good for you, this. Honest. Wrapping me up in boiling hot mud. So, don't do that. The idea is you get covered in boiling hot mud, and then they wrap you in a blanket, and then a polythene blanket, and then another blanket. That's great, that. I'm not so sure I'm into this body as a temple bit anymore. Is it my move? What's that? Checkmate. Truth.